All right, a big sell-off at the corner of Wall and Broad. I want to put this in perspective. Even with the big end-of-month loss, a pretty good month of May, as it turns out. Let's look at how the averages fared on the month, up across the board, even with the sell-off today. Now, the sell-off in large part was fueled by concerns we're doing almost too well. And if you can buy the logic of these CEOs and bankers who presumably met with Ben Bernanke with the Federal Reserve, it's that and he is hinting more to the point that the better things look, maybe the less they need all that Federal Reserve stimulus, the $80-some-odd billion worth of Treasury note security buying that has been keeping these rates so low. You take the punch bowl away, and then, of course, you get punched. Is this serious? And what is the fallout for the midterm elections? Because the one thing that's been helping the president, if you think about it, has been the relatively stable or improving economy and an improving stock market. The wind at his back to sort of make up for these scandals. Which wins out? Michelle Fields, Larry Sabato, and Fox Business Network's Charlie Gasparino. Michelle, what does win out?
Well, I think the public perception of the economy is improving, but is that going to make someone get off the couch and go vote for a Democrat during the midterm elections? No.
Will it make them jump to a Republican?
I think that what the scandals are going to do, it's really going to energize the conservative base so that they go out and do grassroots work for candidates.
So they get out their vote.
And they go and vote. And midterm elections tend to be an advantage for Republicans because people who go out and vote in midterm elections are usually white, they're older, and they're less liberal. So this is going to be great for Republicans.
What do you think of that, Larry?
Actually, she's right. If I had to put it in terms of what was important for midterms, I'd say the economy is much more important for presidential elections than it is for midterm elections. It really is a matter of who's energized. Look, can I give you just one historic example? As I know you love history so much, Neil.
Well, my version of it, not yours, but go ahead.
Yeah, your version of it, exactly. But 1986, it was the sixth-year election for Ronald Reagan. The economy was going pretty strongly.
The sixth midterm election.
He was quite popular. Right. The Iran-Contra scandal didn't come out until after the election.
True.
What happened? The Democrats gained a lot of seats and took over the Senate. So you just never know with a sixth-year election. It's always a dangerous time for an incumbent administration.
Yeah, and midterms, by their nature, are kind of spotty. But, Charlie, what is going on with the market? I mean, there is a flip side to these improving economic numbers and everything. As you and I have said, we're not off to the races. The best we could say is we're off the mat when it comes to but there's a flip to that means the Federal Reserve doesn't have to keep
We should also point out, I think the president would get some benefit from a rapidly improving economy. If the economy was improving as fast as the stock market, the economy is doing okay. It's not doing as great as the stock market. You look at the underemployment numbers. I mean, the economy is better, but not great. The stock market is great, but we should point one thing out. Average investors really are not in the stock market. This is a market of professional investors. If you look at all the money flow charts, it's all retail. The average guy, they're mostly in bonds, and there's been a run-up in bonds, but they're in bonds because they're afraid of Fed printing money, which it's been doing, the inflating of the stock market.
Interest rates have been backing up. I mean,
they have been recently.
Right. And Michelle, the argument is, I know your generation look at it and say, "Wow, we're already up to a nearly 4% mortgage," and I can remember that. I joke about this. My wife and I were paying that per day when we got our first mortgage. Having said that perspective is everything, and if rates begin to really back up, then everything is off, right?
And I think when you look,
maybe
when you look in terms of the midterm election as well, you can't just look at the economy. It doesn't matter if the economy is doing well. If Obamacare is implemented and people are having trouble paying for health care, people are having trouble getting health care, that affects the perspective of the economy as well. And we know that there are going to be tons of problems.
Maybe. Not there yet. Larry, I mean, that is a distinct possibility, but barring any of these unforeseen developments where, let's say, people are just, you hear these stories that come to the fall, a lot of people who are self-employed are going to lose their health care, et cetera. Barring that, which is a big possible barring, because that could likely happen, what will decide this midterm election?
Well, it's a mix of the basic factors that determine all elections. War and peace, and who knows, and that can change on any given day. The state of the economy, and I always look to things like the unemployment rate. Hey, Bill Clinton was protected from scandal in the midterm election of 1998, his sixth-year election, but he had an unemployment rate of between 4% and 5%.
And a boom in the market. And a
Yeah,
boom
and
in
a
the
boom
market.
in the market. So it's and then scandal. Scandal's the third factor. So it's always a mix of the three, and you do look to the two-party bases, Democrats versus Republicans. Who's angrier? Who's
And
unhappier?
they come out in a
who's gonna
midterm.
turn
To
out?
Michelle's point, they're midterm election participants or not, right?
And if you're a strong Democrat
Exactly.
in a red state, you don't want to run for office right now and have to deal with answering to all
Although
these
they
scandals.
did think, the Democrats are good at, you guys know this, but Larry knows this better than me, they're good at getting out the vote. I mean, that's one thing
Absolutely.
that they're very good at. And
Absolutely.
the one thing I would say is this, though. They were good at getting out the vote, and they did much better than Romney did. But President Obama won won an electoral landslide, but he won 50.98%
Yes,
of the
he
vote.
did.
Is that enough to translate into taking over the House this time when you have scandals? And like I said, the economy is just not that much better. We are not in 1997 Bill Clinton bubble.
But if you've been beaten down enough, and all it takes is a slight uptick to sort of say, all right, I'm not banging my head
What is
against
the
wall.
uptick?
Well, I'm just saying it's better than it was, right?
The uptick is marginal, and
I
I'll tell you,
agree,
the
but
average guy
perspective is
is
everything.
not in this market.
Well, you're a hater.
But the
You're a hater.
enthusiasm
You're
is
an
on the side of
economic
the right.
recovery hater.
I
I don't know what that means.
I'm usually the optimist.
You are, aren't you?
Yes.
I don't know. It's a long day. Do you think he's an optimist?
I don't think so.
He doesn't strike me. Sabato does. Larry, you're an optimist?
No, Charlie is right. Democrats are very good at getting out the vote, but they're good at getting out the vote in presidential
Yes.
elections. They're really not as good in midterm elections at motivating minorities, young people, and others. And that's their challenge for 2014, is to get them out to vote the way they vote in presidential elections.
Thank you, Professor. What he said, by the way.
I'm
All
not
right.
disagreeing. I'm not hating.
All right. Guys, thank you all very much. By the way,